Today I'm going to guide you on building a scalable web application. We are going to integrate EC2 frontend with the direct storage S3 bucket, backend AWS Aurora DB RDS. So let's start and let's directly jump into the level 1 diagram of it. So we can see this. So what's the plan is, imagine a 7-layer with application, a 7th layer application presentation, session, transport, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. Imagine a client or a user using a Google Chrome browser, and he's typing a HTTP protocol, which comes on the application level layer with the port number 80 if it's HTTP, and it's port number 443 if it's HTTPS protocol. So via both the protocol, this client or a user, unknown user, or maybe he's a known user to the particular application who knows this address, or via the Google he searched in and stepped in, his request is going to go inside a form which is called a container. So form of HTML forms are like container, which contains the upload picture, which can contain a submit button, and once we are going to upload this picture, the profile photo with the path of the local machine of mine, for example, that path needs to be sent to the Amazon RDS, which is a MySQL database. Now what will happen, it will directly pick up this container form and put it into the database, but before putting into the database, it needs to be authorized also. So authorization is it acts like a watchman, that if you have the hotel room card to swipe in, your lights will be on. You will get the access to your room. You can open a door. You can access the lights. You can access the Wi-Fi's, everything. It's a single swipe. In a similar way, we need the authorization of the EC2 S3 upload role. We are going to create a role for Amazon S3 bucket. This EC2 web server will act like a middle layer where this PHP server scripting will be running on an Apache server. So this middle layer will try to lift this, lift this form and put it into the database, which is MySQL database, with the profile photo, with the path of that profile photo. At the last, when you see the outcome, you'll get a green marker stating that your photo is uploaded. That's the display, which is coming directly as a confirmation from database that we had submitted the path and the photo had been uploaded to the Amazon S3 bucket. So that's the whole task or a diagram. But if we see that this is still a level 1 diagram, if we see the larger picture, what we are planning to achieve over here, we are planning to achieve, this 3-tier web application architecture with EC2 S3 and RDS MySQL. So we already discussed this user browser client and the internet gateway. So if anyone is hitting HTTP protocol from its Google Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer browser, that will try to go to the AWS VPC, which is called as a virtual private cloud. So we can see the ring form over here of the AWS virtual private cloud. And let's say that we are going to use a region like US East 1 or, Virginia. So that comes under, the US East 1 region. Now, what will happen over here, this via the internet gateway, it will go to, this EC2 instance, Apache, PHP engine, which is like a middle layer. It will try to pick the form, and we are able to see within the public subnet tier 1 presentation. We need to understand that we are going to keep this HTML form in the public subnet because that needs to be accessible by the end users, and this end users can be anyone, can access from any route via the internet gateway. I mean, using the HTTP protocol, it can't be inside the private subnet. So, but the database needs to be inside a private subnet, or it can be inside a secure group if it's a development mode. If a developer wants to access, the Jenkins or any particular database, they need to go via the VPN access. But that's still a separate stuff. That's more advanced level. We are sticking to the public subnet and the private subnet in terms of, the subnet level security and the segregations, what we call it as. We are able able to see the EC2 instance, Apache PHP engine is going to play a role in terms of lifting this forms with profile photo and putting into the database. And from this database, it's going to insert a statement, insert a statement, and put this inside the S3 bucket. Also, the photo will go to S3 direct storage bucket, and at the same time it will fire a SQL insert statement which will help through the PHP server scripting, which will help to put the paths getting stored into the RDS MySQL engine. Thank you. So now let's directly jump to the EC2 instance over here. What we are going to do is we can plan to create first of all the S3 bucket. So let me take you directly to S3 bucket over here. Give me 1 second. Let's go to the home first of all. So this is my home. I'm using a free AWS trial cloud. I still have the free 94.20 USD out of 120, which was given to me. I'd already created one, but I'm not going to use the same thing. So I'm going to create a fresh bucket over here. Let's create a fresh bucket. We can give this, as we are going to create a bucket, choose a globally unique name. We need to create a globally unique name. So we need to make sure that it starts with AMZN because we are using Amazon Cloud. On top of this, we can see this AMZN S3. It's a profile photo app, so we can name it as profile photo by Mahavir. Yeah, or I'll say that by Tactility. Yeah, we are going to keep the ACLs disabled. So this is all objects in the bucket needs to be owned by this account itself. So access to this bucket and its object is specified using only policies. So we need to acknowledge this as we are trying to make it public for an easy access and a one-shot, creation. But we need to take care of the narrowing down also. That we will look into later. So I'm creating this new bucket called as what's the name? Amazon S3 profile photo by Tactility. Yeah, but there's some notice in the AWS that this region might not be available in all. So I was thinking to change this region to OYO. You can see that we had successfully created a bucket over here called as Amazon S3 profile photo Tactility. So let's press the Control F5 hard reload, which is a standard practice for testing, whether it's created or not. We can see this is created. We can see there are two buckets exist, one in the US East 2 and other is in North Virgin, US East 2. Now what we can do is in the top search bar we are going to search for IAM role. So let me do that. Separate roles pertaining to the previous exercise, not the same one. So here we are going to select AWS service. From this allows AWS service like EC2, Lambda, or any other to perform actions in this account specifically. If it's related Azure, we need to use SAML 2.0, which is a federated login access for a cross. Allowing entities in other AWS account, we need to use AWS account instead of AWS service. As this belongs to the same cloud, same account, we can use the AWS service instead of SAML or instead of AWS or web identity. This all have a different purpose. Like the reason for selecting EC2 is it needs to allow EC2 instance to call AWS service on your behalf. So that's the purpose what it needs to solve. AWS provides, the templates for creating a role also. So it's going to use a ready template of EC2, and that will create instance to call AWS service on your search a policy name Amazon S3. I think it's full access. We're going to give this full access over here. Let's go previous and check it. We are not creating inline policies. It's use existing policy over here. We are not making our own policy. So we are creating role without a permissions boundary. Granular level access management settings, we can do it in later exercise. You can watch my part 2 for the same. We can see it's already selected. Then let's go for next, and let's give some role name like the role name like AMs. We can give a role name like Tactility EC2 S3 upload role. We can see this role is created over here. Let's go to EC2 instance. Let's give a name to this. For let's say that Tactility profile photo app, and I'm going to choose Amazon Linux, which is already selected. It falls under free tier eligibility. We can see this, it's a free tier eligibility over here, and we are going to keep the 64-bit x86 architecture, but we also need to select the key pair over here. So here we are keeping a T3 micro, so let's give this name as Tactility EC2 key pair PP stands for profile photo key pair. It's RSA and the PAM file. So let's create this. So we can see it's down. Hope it's visible. Okay, let's close this. So now the key pair is created. You can see it's visible over here. And what next? We are going to allow both types of traffics. So we remember that we created this role. This is in fact a very important step. So if we forget to select this, it's going to not permit. We are going to get the error for this. A server level error will be there, which is kind of authorization failure. We already discussed in the diagram that this will help in authorizing it. Let's paste the script over here. We can see this. It will help to update the package. It will install the Apache to run a PHP, and PHP AWS SDK is a connectivity, which is integration tools. That will be updated using DNF update Y first, and then DNF install Y will install the HTTPD, which will allow to access the HTTP protocol, PHP CLI, JSON, PHP MB strings. So these are the few libraries what we require from PHP AWS SDK integration tools. And this HTTPD will install the Apache and will allow this, PHP server scripting to run on top of Apache, and perform that lift of the HTML form container containing a profile photo and the path, and put it into the S3 bucket after clicking a submit button on the HTML form. Also install the AWS SDK for PHP natively via Composer or CURL. So we need to install this Composer also, PHP Composer, and at the last we are going to start the web server to check the output. So I think we are done almost, and let's see now. The next step is to give Apache permissions and click launch instance. We need to click the launch instance over here. So let's launch the instance. We can see the success over here. Let's go to the instance and check whether it's created or not. We can see it's created over here. Now it's still initializing, so we need to wait until it shows, the green status over here. Now we can open this address. It's not showing anything. It's not an issue. So it says that Apache, we had completed the first step. I'd put an HTTP instead of HTTPS. So it says it works. So we had cleared the first step. And now, what we are going to do is we need to connect this. How we are going to connect is through the connect option. So I'm going to go to the bash stage. I'm going to connect with EC2 instance. Nothing to be done, just simply, if we have a putty, we can connect from our machine using a putty by giving a public IP also, or we can directly connect from here. So we can see this, it's connected. So currently it's not in the root directory. I'm going to root directory by putting cd /. Now if I do ls over here, we can see the root directory, presence of the root directory. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do cross-check dnf update y. This will try to update the Linux. This to be run super user. Okay, let me run using super user. DNF update. Okay, that completed. And now let me check for DNF install. Y, HTTPD, PHP, PHP CLI. These are the few directories which should be already installed. But we are just cross-checking that if anything is, missing, and we should not get the error for it, kind of like. So this is like, again, we forgot the sudo. So let's put the sudo or the su. It's done, already installed. It says already. Check first, with status system ctl start httpd access denied, it says. Okay, so this is running perfectly fine. Okay, so let's say sudo nano index dot php. Let's click the sudo nano. Let's write US East 2. Confirm it from here. Is it US East 2? Yes, it's US East 2. Control O, enter, Control X, cat index.php. So we can see this, that the file is changed with the required. So we can see this, the file is changed with the required bucket name and the region both. Save. Okay, now the composer is say it yes. So we had changed the ownership of Apache to variable W. We had installed this libraries. We had installed this required files using the sudo php composer. We had also curled the get composer, which we were not able to do it previously. Let's check it. Yes, it's working. So let me go to picture and let's say that I'm going to upload this back, upload to AWS S3. So it says that it's successfully uploaded, and let's go back straight away to S3 bucket and check the image over here. So we can go inside the profile and we can see this image is uploaded. So that's all for the time being, friends. If you are also willing to get, if you all are also willing to crack the 10 lakh interview, come and join the Tactility Cloud AWS certified live project training, where I'm going to train you for more than hundreds of different tiers of the AWS. Thank you. Thanks a lot.